And back in the four-team college football playoff era, I was always an advocate of the SEC because of the days of Alabama, Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, even Auburn. I thought that they were more physical. I thought they were more tough than the likes of Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State at the time. But the name, image, likeness and the transfer portal in the college football playoff era has completely allowed the Big Ten to not only take advantage of paying players, but it has made Michigan, Ohio State, and now Indiana, who had two winning seasons in their entire history as a program, which goes back to over 100 years until this year. And they get this quarterback named Fernando Mendoza, and they get this coach named Kurt Zanetti, and they become one of the most dominant teams in the era of college football. And last night against Miami, who was a great story, Mario Cristobal from there had to come back to take care of a sick parent, left the Oregon job because of that. They get Carson Beck out of the transfer portal, who leaves Georgia after winning two national championships to try to win one for Miami. Miami is in a debate with Notre Dame for one of the last available spots in the college football playoff. They become a 10 seed. They end up taking down Texas A&M in a very low-scoring defensive battle in the first round. Then they take out the favorite to win the national championship, the team that many people, including myself, thought was one of the most well-rounded teams in history of college football. Of course, that being the defending national champion, Ohio State Buckeyes. And then in a classic, they take down Ole Miss in a shootout to get to the national championship, and they really played Indiana tough for the first half. It was a 10-0 game. Miami couldn't get anything going offensively. I thought they needed to go more up tempo with Carson Beck earlier in the game. Then obviously they got the ball in the hands of Malachi Tony in the second half. They made some big plays. They scored some touchdowns. In the end, they were able to hold Indiana's offense down to 26 points, and it came down to one throw by Carson Beck. It was a great disguise by Indiana as they went from cover one to cover two. Were able to get the interception to seal the national championship. To me, I know next year, I think the CFP is scheduled to be played on like January 26th or something like that. I think the college football playoff gets overshadowed now by the NFL playoffs. I mean, 2 minutes, excuse me, 2 minutes after the college football national championship ended, the Titans have hired Robert Saleh, and that's all we're going to talk about. And the Buffalo Bills job is open, and the AFC and NFC championship games are this weekend. Um, but college football is now becoming America's second favorite growing sport. It's right behind the NFL. I would argue it's more popular than the MLB. I would argue it's more popular than the NBA. I think the transfer portal, the NIL, and the expansion of conferences, the Big Ten going coastal, the SEC adding in Texas and Oklahoma, I think have helped. And I think that college football is slowly becoming the NFL on Sundays. Just on Saturdays, we get to see these young kids grow up. With that, though, I do think there needs to be guardrails. I think the college football scheduling is messed up. I think the fact that because of recruiting, Brian Hartline cannot coach Ohio State for obviously Lane Kiffin had to leave Ole Miss. There's plenty of other situations throughout the country with that, and I just think that's wrong. In the NFL, I do feel the same way about the hiring cycle, but at least in the NFL, they have guidelines around championship week, that these teams can no longer bring in these coaches, and they also can't be in-person interviews. They have to be virtual interviews. So, and I also think that with the calendar, again, this is so late in the season, it's barely going to be picked up today. It may be a one story by the news, and then we're going to forget about it. But this Indiana team was special. And Fernando Mendoza last night, I did not think played particularly well. He got hit a lot, which that's what he's going to look for when he goes to the Raiders next year. Reportedly, Tom Brady and Al Davis were in the house. I thought his run for the touchdown was the iconic moment of the game. I think it's one of those moments that we look back in college football history and think of as iconic as he dives towards the pylon to pretty much put Indiana on top for good. It was a 13-10 game at that point. That touchdown, excuse me, all but sealed. So, in the end, I thought Indiana from top to bottom was the best college football team all season long. I think they absolutely deserved it. And now Michigan, Indiana, Ohio State, three straight national championships. The Big Ten is clearly the best conference in college football. And, we'll see where we go from here. There's talk about a 16-team playoff. There's talk about a 24-team playoff, which would obviously make college football's own version of March Madness and to Summer Madness. I think at this point, it's all about the money. Obviously, I think Fox, CBS, NBC, they all want a piece of the pie with this playoff now that ESPN has exclusive rights for it at 12 or 16 teams. I would expect it to expand. Um, I think this is the last year of the 12-team playoff. And again, I think that college football is becoming more and more like the NFL on Sundays. But you gotta have guardrails around this stuff. I think the recruiting thing is wrong. I think the national championship game is played way too late, and I think that's earning the sport. But Indiana's a very good team. I think Kurt Zanetti may be the next Nick Saban. I mean, they are the most well-coached team in college football, in my opinion. It's not even close. I mean, they don't fumble. They don't have missed snaps. They don't have penalties. And when you do make mistakes, they take full advantage of them. And now, with Fernando Mendoza's brother, who he claims is better than him, who knows? Maybe Indiana can go back to back next year. Like that clip from the Friends World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Friends World podcast right here on YouTube.